All right, we got a good Thursday night game. Kirk Cousins, the Falcons, they come back against Tampa Bay to win. Trying to figure out the quality level of these teams in the NFC. I don't think either the Falcons or the Bucks are bad. In fact, I was trending toward thinking the Bucks are a good team. I wasn't sure about the Falcons entering this game, but they showed some fight, and that was a dramatic comeback there at the very end. And they made it even a little harder on themselves with the 52-yard field goal after the delay of game that Raheem Morris was not happy about. Atlanta wins in overtime, 36-30. And it just so happens that we're talking about Kirk Cousins winning for the Falcons. Well, we get to talk about another one of Kyle Shanahan's favorite quarterbacks, a better quarterback in Brock Purdy. This is some fascinating stuff. Today, Brock Purdy acknowledged that defenses are playing him differently. They're taking away the middle of the field. But as I've been going over the last week or two with all the statistics, he is still destroying opposing defenses. And I have a graphic for you. And this graphic, I think there are a lot of people that don't want this graphic to be out there because stuff like this is completely destroying their credibility. Because anybody who has doubted Brock Purdy, who's questioned him over the course of the past 3 years, they're getting exposed right now. I don't have any other way to put it. But I mean, people who were saying that first it was saying Trey Lance should be starting over Brock Purdy. Then it was people saying that Purdy doesn't have a strong arm. Then it was people saying that he shouldn't be in the MVP race. Then it was people saying that he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing without weapons. I mean, all of this stuff has just fallen so flat on its face. It's been ridiculous. And then you have a graphic like this that comes out right now while we have it verified that defenses are trying to take away middle of the field passes. Well, take a look at this. This is EPA, horizontal axis. The x-axis is the effectiveness and the efficiency of Brock Purdy delivering over the middle. The vertical axis, or the y-axis, is him throwing outside the numbers to the left or the right. Well, Purdy is up here. Purdy is an outlier. This is since 2006. So you've got names like John Kitna in here. You have Michael Vick in here. You have Colin Kaepernick in here. Garoppolo in a good spot, actually. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady is in here as well. I can't find Brady's name right now. I'm looking for it. But separating himself from the entire pack, and this is a sample that includes his entire career so far, is Brock Purdy. I mean, he is the outlier of outliers. This is a Hall of Fame trajectory for Brock Purdy. It's too early to say that he's going to be a Hall of Famer because he's got to stack years and years and years of this. But what he's done since entering the league in 2022 has been truly special. And the reason that the defensive adjustments to take away the middle of the field haven't worked is because he's way up here. He's the best that we've seen since 2006 at throwing to the left or the right. So get lost with the Brock Purdy doesn't have arm strength. I mean, it's just comical at this point that there were people doubting Brock Purdy after seeing him play. All you had to do was see him play against, of all teams, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady in his first career start in 2022. It was evident immediately that he was a dude, that he could play. And ever since then, we've heard this nonstop parade of nonsense that I think finally is getting shut down in the mainstream media. I would hope it is, because you have this now. You have data like this. Brock Purdy, way to the right. So he's one of the most efficient quarterbacks on throws over the middle since 2006. There with Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tony Romo. It's funny that Garoppolo and Romo, look right here, are in the same exact spot. They both went to the same college, Eastern Illinois. Garoppolo, by the way, way better than a lot of people give him credit for. But Rodgers in that same vicinity as far as throws over the middle. But then when it comes to the efficiency on throws to the outside, Brock Purdy is up here. Way, way above everyone else. I mean, second is Mahomes, it looks like, and then Manning. Purdy, Mahomes, Manning, Burrow, Drew Brees. Here's Kurt Warner. Look at Nick Mullins. Shout out to Nick Mullins. He gets on this chart as well. Where's Brady? Mike, can you find Brady and let me know where his dot is? I'm still looking for it. For some reason, I don't see it. I might be. Oh, there it is. Tom Brady. He's kind of hidden in there right with Drew Brees. And then you have Brock Purdy up there. Anyway, Brock himself today at the 49ers press conference talked about how defenses are playing the 49ers differently. I thought this was one of the more insightful answers that you'll hear from an NFL quarterback about scheme and about the strategy of facing opposing defenses.
No, I 100% agree that they are. I feel like my rookie year and that 2022 season, even with Jimmy, man, we hit a lot of stuff over the middle, and we had a lot of explosives like that and cross-courting plays and getting the ball into like Deebo and BA's hands, and then they break it one tackle and they're gone. And so I feel like we do see a lot more help and stuff in the middle of the field for sure, but at the same time, that opens up other things and avenues and areas for us to get better and attack. And so some defenses do that, some don't. And so I guess that's something that we've seen over the last year or so, but we have to adjust, man. That's football.
And yes, the 49ers have adjusted. Purdy is more capable than anybody, it looks like, of adjusting with this absolute outlier of a number efficiency-wise ever since joining the league in 2022. Now, he's gotten better, and I would say that he's also showed different ways of winning over this season. And this is what I wrote on Monday for the San Francisco Standard. The style stats for Brock Purdy have been markedly different moving from 2023 to 2024. He's turned into more of a scrambler. He's turned into more of a deep thrower. The 73 deep passing yards per game actually lead the league this year. He's throwing into tighter windows, and the yards after the catch has been way down from number 1 to number 31 this year. Now, Purdy explained it today, and I think Kyle Shanahan talked about it on the radio. The 49ers, between Minnesota, the Rams, and then the New England Patriots, were facing some of the most aggressive 8-man coverage teams in the league. That means rush only 3, drop 8 in coverage. So I think that you'll see a natural reversion to 4-man rushes and more aggressive rushes that allows the 49ers to operate with some more space downfield, yet with more of a pass rush. And that's going to lead to more yak, because I think Purdy is going to have to throw shorter when some of this pressure is in his lap a little bit more quickly. But the past 3 weeks have necessitated a different style from Brock Purdy, because 8 men have been in coverage, and those 8 men have been ready to swarm around the football and stop the yards after the catch. So Purdy has had a choice. It's either been, okay, continue going underneath, but don't be as efficient with it, or continue to attack, but you've got to be really precise, since there's one extra guy back in coverage a lot of these times over the past 3 weeks. And he's decided to continue to attack. And, a lot of the defensive formations have specifically tried to cut off the intermediate middle passes, where Brock Purdy was making NFL history with his efficiency entering this year. And he just decided to go over the top a lot of the time. So you see it in the numbers. The deep passing yards per game, that means Purdy's going over the top. The average depth of target means that Purdy's going over the top. But there are also plays on tape that I can point out, such as the crosser to Jawan Jennings against the Patriots, where they dropped 8 into coverage, and Jennings, this was an intermediate route. It wasn't a deep route. It was exactly the type of play that the defense was trying to take away by dropping extra men into coverage. And Brock Purdy knifed one in there accurately to Jawan Jennings anyway. He is delivering MVP level play right now that is beating even the defenses that have adjusted to try to stop him. That's the bottom line with Brock Purdy. And that's why we have statistically delved into things over on the San Francisco Standard. Get this up for you right there. There it is, how Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense stacks up. I wonder if I could Yeah, I could cross post this to Twitter. Awesome. I think I could get this co-streamed right now. We're going to get this on Twitter as well, Mike. Brock Purdy facing different defenses and maintaining top efficiency. I got to get a tweet ready for this. This is exciting. I love doing these cross streams. That way we get the entire Twitter audience into things. And I believe that we should be on Twitter now. Hello, everybody that's watching on Twitter. Let's watch the view count just skyrocket. There it goes. It's taking off. It's like a rocket ship heading up into space. As soon as it opens up on Twitter, the floodgates really open. But we've got the piece from the San Francisco Standard up there. The quarter season stat check, how Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense stacks up. I went through a lot here. First, we've got our EPA comparison. This is just a full team-wide look at where the 49ers rankings are this year. So I'm going to go back to that in a second. I just want to give you a quick little rundown of where everything is. This is the quarterback EPA adjusted leaderboard. This is from Ben Baldwin, Brock Purdy, the very top of the chart. We'll open that up and expand it in a bit so you can see it. Rushing direction and efficiency. This is fascinating. Going to get to this in a few minutes. And then there are the 49ers receiving divisions and the yards per route run, the efficiency of each individual receiver for the 49ers this year, obviously very different than it was last season. So this is all up on the Standard. I'm going to take a copy and paste here of the link. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and check out the description. Mike is going to drop it in there right now. If you're on Twitter, this is all over my Twitter page. I want to take a look at the specific stats though here, so that way we can discuss where the 49ers are at as a team and then kind of zoom in on everything past that. Let me see if I could zoom in on this for you so we could make this bigger. Yep, I think we can. There it is. All right, the 49ers EPA comparison. So these are ranks out of 32 teams. The lighter the color, the better the rank. The darker the color, the worse the rank. That's the color coding here. 2023 in this column, 2024 in the right-hand column. 49ers offense, I mean, that was the trifecta last year, right? They're number one in EPA per play in total offense, pass offense, and run offense. This year, they've dropped down to number 6, but the pass offense, we're talking about how good Purdy's been, despite the fact that he's been missing some weapons. They've also dropped quite a few passes this year. Pass offense remains number 3. People wondering why the rush offense is number 14. EPA is a little bit more of a sophisticated stat than just raw rushing yardage. It's going to take into account down and distance and red zone successes and failures. And there've obviously been a few too many red zone failures for the 49ers. They're down to number 20 in touchdown rate. They were number 1 last year. So I think the run offense will get better as the red zone performance gets better, if it does get better. Defenses remain number 10 across the overall ranking. The pass defense has gotten a little bit worse for the 49ers this year. They're number 11 instead of number 6. It's still a small sample through 1 month. But it's the run defense that has gotten a little bit better that I think shows some promise for the 49ers. They were capped out at number 10 last year. With a run defense that ranked number 26, it wasn't going to get better than number 10. I think this defense for the 49ers in 2024 can get better than number 10 because I do believe that the only way to go from 2023 as far as the run defense went was up. And so far, number 14, still a small sample. They have gone down, though, on special teams from number 25 to number 32. That is dead last. That's something the 49ers absolutely have to get fixed. Special teams just can't be losing you football games. It could be average. If you get this up to number 20, I think that would be okay with the 49ers. But 32 is not going to do it. As you can tell, that color is very different than all the other colors on the table. So overall, EPA, the 2023 team was number 2, behind only the Ravens. The 2024 team is number 7. And I think the 49ers would hope that they can still make the upward climb this season. So this was the 49ers performance review that I promised yesterday. The It still is correct when I say it's coming tomorrow, because I'm going to have the defensive side of things coming tomorrow. We have a lot of cool little divisions to look at on the offensive side of the ball. And again, this is all up on the standard right now, so you can go ahead and click on the link in the description and check it out. I need to make a couple more text titles for this, though. We want to look at rushing direction. This is, to me, this is one of the bigger changes that the 49ers have structurally in their offense that can really pay off in a good way for them down the stretch of this season. Finishing the text title. I'm going to have another cool graphic for you up on the screen. Here we go. 49ers rushing direction. All right. This is what I unearthed. I ran some numbers with the PFF data, and I had to simplify it a little bit, but I was able to combine it into this chart. But you can see the top half of this is directional running. The bottom half of this is efficiency, yards per carry. Last year, the 49ers ran to the left most of the time, for nearly 40% of the time. They ran to the right only 27.7% of the time. This season, they're running less to the left and more to the right. It's essentially inverted. To the right's 39% of the time, to the left 33% of the time, and they're not running nearly as much to the center of the field. That's gone down about 5 points. Take a look at the efficiency, though. The 49ers are now averaging 5.7 yards per carry to the right. Last year, it was only 4.1 yards per carry to the right. They're averaging more yards per carry to the right side than they did to the left side last year. So the biggest thing for San Francisco is that Colton McKivitz has improved big time as a run blocker. That's, everybody wants to talk about when the offensive line struggles. I don't hear a lot of people talking about when it's doing some good things for the 49ers. And I think that Colton McKivitz does deserve that tip of the cap. His PFF run blocking grade last year, just to give you some perspective, was 61. His PFF run blocking grade this year is 81. They've also added the rookie Dominic Pooney to the right side, and look at the results. McKivitz improved, Pooney added. Yards per carry on the right side have gone up from 4.1 to 5.7. So no wonder the 49ers have upped the percentage of runs to the right from 27% to 39%. Now, it also makes sense that some of the runs to the left have gone down in frequency because Trent Williams has been working himself into shape. I would say that I think he's fully worked himself into shape at this point. That was a run to the left that ended the game against New England, where Jordan Mason ran for 25 plus yards and Trent Williams was road grading, sprinting in front of the play, 20, 30 yards downfield down the left sideline. I told you guys, after week one, I was talking to Trent in the locker room, and he said my tongue was cramping. I had to go in for an IV. I'm not lying. His tongue was cramping in week one against the Jets. He was still out of shape. It figures. I mean, he wasn't out at training camp. He had to go in for an IV in week 3 against the Rams as well. He did not need an IV on a hot day against the New England Patriots, where he was sprinting upfield in garbage time. 70 seconds left. I thought that meant a whole lot, that play for the 49ers. It meant that Trent Williams was back in shape. It also meant that the culture was strong for the 49ers. It was important for them to get Jordan Mason over 100 yards. And at that point, the game is over, but you're still blocking your ass off for your teammate downfield. To me, that's a healthy sign for the locker room. I thought that meant a lot for San Francisco. Anyway, the ambidextrous rushing direction that the 49ers have shown here in 2024, as you can see from these numbers, I think the run left is only going to get better now that Trent Williams is firmly back in shape. And remember, Aaron Banks also missed some time at left guard for San Francisco right before the start of the season. So I think it's only going to get better to the left. The fact that McKivitz on the right side and Dominic Pooney on the right side have taken the strides that they've taken, that bodes so well for the 49ers and how they can use the running offense as a stem for the play action game. If defenses have to account for runs going to both directions with equal efficiency or even greater efficiency to the right side, since they're already scared of Trent Williams on the left. We see all those business decisions from defenders on the runs to the left. If they have to account for both equally, Kyle Shanahan's play calling ability and Brock Purdy's playmaking ability off the play action and in the pass game is only going to increase because defenses have to cover the whole field. It's about balance, and balance can help the 49ers take this offense to the next level. We've got some more graphics to show you. Now we're going to go to 49ers receiving targets. So we're going to go 49ers YPRR, which is yards per route run. I'm working on the fly here. All right, this is also up on the standard right now, so you can go ahead and click on the link in the description. But yards per route run, this is a good efficiency metric to see how an offense is functioning as far as overall target share goes and overall productivity goes. In 2023, Brandon Ayuk led the way. I have this ordered mostly by 2023 efficiency. I know Jordan Mason should probably be above Juszczyk, but Mason didn't get a whole lot of touches last year, so it's a small sample size thing in 2023 for him. But Ayuk was good. He was at 2.65 yards per route run. Anything above 2, you really like to see from your top wide receivers. Deebo Samuel, 2.26. Kittle was right at around 2 last year for your tight end, especially. That's good. McCaffrey wasn't that high of a number, but we know the impact that Christian McCaffrey had on the offense last year. It's like Steph Curry. Kyle Shanahan has literally compared McCaffrey to Steph Curry before. He said it's like gravity. Steph Curry draws defenders toward him, opens stuff up for other guys. Same exact thing with Christian McCaffrey, even though he was only at 1.36 last year. So then you go to 2024. Ayuk has fallen way off. Every single statistic for Brandon Ayuk is significantly lower than it was last year. And if we're looking at this overarching efficiency look, he goes down from 2.65 yards per route run to 1.28. Deebo has picked up some of the slack up to 2.41, so he's in a great spot. Meanwhile, Juwan Jennings is in an elite spot. 3.5 is insane. If Jennings finishes the season at 3.5, I don't expect it, but he'd be higher than Julio Jones was in his prime years. So that's what you've seen from Juwan Jennings. You've seen MVP or at least all-pro caliber production so far from Juwan Jennings. So he's picking up a lot of the slack that's there because Brandon Ayuk right now is not performing at last season's level. Kittle, around the same. It's more or less the same, 1.87. Where the 49ers have had to pick up a lot of slack, though, is McCaffrey because he hasn't played yet. So McCaffrey is nothing right now, and it was 1.36 last year. Some of that slack has obviously been picked up by Kyle Juszczyk. They're using him more in the receiving game. Jordan Mason also, the 0.89 of Jordan Mason last year, he wasn't playing a whole lot. So this year he's playing a lot and he's delivering 0.63, but he's just not as good of a receiver as Christian McCaffrey. So even though Juszczyk has had to pick up some of the slack, Mason has not done the remainder of it as a receiver. Unfortunately, he had one called back on the ticky-tack holding penalty against George Kittle, but Jennings has had to carry a massive, massive load for the 49ers. Either which way you look at this receiving division for the 49ers, they're going to need Ayuk to pull more weight. He needs to be more than a 1.28 guy. They need to get Ayuk up to near 2. And that's especially if Christian McCaffrey is still out. Once McCaffrey comes back, well, it's a rich get richer kind of thing, because if McCaffrey comes back and gives the 49ers 1.36 again, well, what happens there is that the gravity goes toward Christian McCaffrey, and that should free up somebody like Brandon Ayuk to naturally carry more of a load. But right now you have an unnatural load being carried by Juwan Jennings at 3.5. That's a really, really high number. So this kind of gives you an idea of how the divisions have worked for the 49ers from 2023 to 2024. Big changes year on year for San Francisco. But, one thing that hasn't changed is Brock Purdy and league-wide dominance. Ever since he joined the league in 2022, this is a comparison of quarterbacks throwing to the middle of the field and then throwing outside and outside the numbers, XY axis. So Middle of the field's x-axis, left and right is the y-axis. This tracks quarterbacks back to 2006. So you've got the likes of Kurt Warner on there. You've got the likes of Cam Newton on there, John Kitna, Michael Vick. You also have Colin Kaepernick, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tony Romo. As I said earlier, crazy that they're in the same spot because they both went to Eastern Illinois. I did hear from somebody back when I was covering Garoppolo when he first started with the 49ers. There were people that were comparing him to Tony Romo just based on the quick release and the part of the field that they like to attack. So maybe it's fitting that they're at the same spot. But the story here is that Brock Purdy is an absolute outlier. There he is. If you're looking for Purdy in here, you're not going to find him. You'll find Jeff Garcia, though. You'll find Brock Purdy way up here. I mean, it's downright insulting when people try to compare him to Alex Smith. Purdy has been an outlier, and this is not just from 2024 when he's done some special stuff. Things have been different in 2024. He's moved into more of a scrambler and a deep thrower. But throughout his entire tenure, when we chart all of that, there's been nobody more efficient on throws to the left and the right, to the sides of the field than Brock Purdy, and it's been by a massive amount. I mean, it's crazy. There's a whole cluster of quarterbacks. Typically, guys, stay close to the mean in the cluster, but the outlier has been Brock Purdy. This, to me, is the most staggering stat. And I've showed a lot of them over the past couple of years. We can go back to the 2023 one, the pass protection one, right? Everybody, it's a correlation. Good pass protection had guys further to the right. But Brock Purdy was over here with bad pass protection. He was the outlier. I'll have to find that at some point and put it back up on a show. 49ers pass protection is actually, I think, doing better this year. They actually ranked number 6 in pass block win rate. But what's tricky is that Purdy is scrambling so much. As I showed with this right here, his snap to release time is 3.14 seconds, which is the longest in the NFL. So he's moving around so much back there against these 8-man coverages, trying to find a window. The tight window throw rate is so high that it's hard to measure the 49ers pass protection. Pass block win rate will measure if they hold it for 2.5 seconds or longer, and that's where the 49ers rank number 6. But oftentimes, as you can see here, since he's holding onto the ball for 3.14 seconds on average, there's still going to be pressures generated because if a rusher wins in 2.56 seconds, that's still a good snap in terms of pass block win rate, but it will still generate a pressure on Purdy. So the longer a QB holds the ball, the tougher it is to block for him, at least as far as avoiding pressures goes. So it's hard to gauge the quality of the 49ers offensive line. But, one thing that hasn't been hard to gauge is the quality of Brock Purdy as a quarterback. And I think that this EPA chart really, really does it. Just absolutely spectacular stuff with Purdy over in the upper right. I'm going to post this on the YouTube community section. I'll tweet it out again. Those of you watching on Twitter, you can go to YouTube, subscribe there, vice versa, other way around. I know that you have the link to the San Francisco Standard piece where all of this data came from. That's up on YouTube, and it's also up on Twitter. But go ahead and check that out. This is the piece where I am able to create all the charts and look through all this stuff. We also have the adjustment chart. Let me go to that really quickly. This is worth seeing. This is from Ben Baldwin. I have to get this up so it will be legible for you on the screen, but there you go. So the 49ers have dropped a lot of passes this year. Because of that, Brock Purdy's raw EPA is 0.22, but his adjusted EPA goes up 0.08 points to 0.31. Jaden Daniels actually has negative adjustments instead of positive ones, so that's why Brock Purdy has the lead. But Daniels, what a start to his career, completing about 82% of his passes. Derek Carr had a good start to the season. It's cooled off a bit over the past 2 games. How about Malik Willis with the Packers? He was behind Will Levis with the Titans. Levis, he's going to be really low on this chart. Where is he at? I'm looking for him. You guys see Will Levis? He better be on this chart. Well, there he is, number 28. Yeah, he's low. So Will Levis, bad score. Malik Willis, good score. We're going to see more of Jordan Love, though, now moving forward. See where he finishes on this chart. Burrow quietly making his way up. Geno Smith not having a bad year. Top 10 this year in efficiency. The adjustments here have hurt Sam Darnold. He's only number 10. Loses 0.04 in adjustment. So this is adjusted for pass protection, receiver drops, dropped interceptions, luck on interceptable passes, fumble recoveries, and interception returns. And quarterbacks are given credit for expected yards after the catch only and accounting for defenses faced. After all of that, Brock Purdy number 1, Jaden Daniels number 2, and Purdy actually a fairly wide gap there between 1 and 2. He has been spectacular, and it was interesting to hear from him today saying, yes, defenses have been trying to take away the middle of the field, but when they try to take away the middle of the field and your quarterback is ranked here when it comes to throws to the outside, remember, higher up is better. Well, it's big time trouble for defenses. That's why Brock Purdy is here to stay. In KMBR today, Kyle Shanahan said that Brock Purdy has all of the tools to win for a long time, because it turns out being like a circular thing, right? Quarterback scrambles or quarterback is good deep. Well, defenses will try to deploy their resources to stop the scrambling or stop the deep throwing. That forces a quarterback to go through a phase where he has to be better with the short game and the intermediate game. Purdy's already shown us that he's really good at the intermediate game and the short game, but the intermediate game especially, he's been very, very lethal. He had the highest yards per attempt in documented NFL history over the past 2 years on throws from 10 to 20 yards over the middle of the field. That's why opponents are trying to take that away. That's why Purdy now is going over the top and he's going to the sidelines. So now that he's showing he could do that too, it's just going to turn into a circular kind of thing where opponents you move to try to stop what has burned you most recently. And if you're a good QB with the full skill set, like Kyle Shanahan today said that Brock Purdy has, you constantly stay a step ahead of that game in the chess match. All right, time for 49ers Q&A. Time for some water. I've been told I need to drink more water, so I'm going to do that right now. Great game tonight. So I think, the NFC South is really, really interesting to me because, we saw the Falcons tonight. We saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We know the Saints are an intriguing team. We just saw Derek Carr up near the top of that quarterback list with Jaden Daniels and Brock Purdy. And I mean, let me look at the first the standings and then the point differential. So Atlanta is at 3-2, Tampa Bay is at 3-2, the Saints are at 2-2. It's funny because the point differential for the Saints has been insane. They're blowing teams out through the first 2 weeks. They're plus 57. Atlanta's got a negative point differential, but they're on top of the division. They don't have a pass rush, is what's crazy to me. I mean, they're the only team in the NFL this year without a pressure logged in the first half of the game. Tampa Bay, every year you have to respect their defense because they've got veterans and they figure it out. Today, I know they got 36 dropped on them by Kirk Cousins, but I thought that it was a good game from Cousins. That's a fascinating division outside of Carolina, obviously, because they're absolutely terrible. But between Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and New Orleans, I think you have 3 above average teams at the very least that could make a run for it. NFC North, Minnesota's been the class of it so far, plus 57 point differential, the same as New Orleans for Minnesota. 49ers are only at plus 21 point differential, by the way, but they've lost a couple games. They're 2-2. Highest point differential, though, in the NFC West. Seattle at plus 17. Can't wait till we have more complete numbers, a couple more weeks. And I really think the next 2 weeks for the 49ers are going to set the tone for the season. We're still so early. I consider September to be preseason nowadays, at least an extended version of the preseason. But between these 2 division games against the Arizona Cardinals And then against the Seattle Seahawks, going to be a quick turnaround the Thursday night. After these are done, you're going to have a very good idea of where the 49ers stand, what the trajectory of this season is. I am ready for your questions. Let's go. I do have a Fred Warner update. He was working off on the side today in full pads and a helmet alongside George Kittle in the heat, which I think is a good sign toward his potential availability for Sunday. That said, he still wasn't able to actually practice. If there are two guys in the 49ers team who can play without practicing, they are Fred Warner and George Kittle. So I would guess that he's going to play. I would guess that George Kittle is going to play on Sunday, but they have not yet, neither of those two players has not yet practiced for the 49ers this week. Did Cousins really have 509 passing yards today? I knew that he was getting up there. I know the overtime game helped him. I'm going to double check. Yep, 509 yards for Kirk Cousins. Holy crap. Well, there you go, Kirk. Have a night. I mean, he could be at the league lead at this point. I think Geno Smith was 1, Brock Purdy was 2, but Purdy way more efficient than Smith. Where is Cousins on the quarterback list entering this game? Let's look. He was 18. Wasn't all that good. I think today was a little bit more efficient than previous games for Kirk Cousins, so he might hop up to near the top 10. We still have a lot of movability on this list, but this is more important than passing yardage. I hope people realize that. It's interesting because Purdy's near the top of passing yardage this year because he's been airing it out a little bit more, but at the end of the day, efficiency is going to be most correlated with winning, and that's why we do look at EPA, and that's why the adjusted numbers are really interesting because they do isolate quarterback play from everything else, and Purdy has been at the very top of the league. But congratulations to Kirk Cousins, who threw for 509 yards in the win tonight. Deebo is the backup running back. Yes, that seems to be who Kyle Shanahan trusts the most in situations where somebody like Jordan Mason's unavailable, while Christian McCaffrey remains on injured reserve. Brock Purdy has been playing better this year, and what do you think about it? Well, I just have spent 37 minutes talking about that. Brock Purdy was already playing great in years past. Now he's playing he's playing number one level, right? We could even say he was elite with the way that he was playing last year. It was an MVP caliber season for Brock Purdy. Well, now Purdy it's gone from elite, MVP caliber, great, whatever you want to say, to literally top of the heap, number one. Because last year, some of these adjusted EPA leaderboards would knock Purdy down a peg. They didn't like the yak. I think quarterbacks facilitate yak if that's what the offense is supposed to do. So that's what it had been designed to do, and Purdy did his job. So sometimes I don't agree with some of these adjustments, but this year he's defying even the adjustments with 158 dropbacks already. Eric says it, top tier Purdy, number one Purdy this year, legitimately at the very top of the list for the 49ers. The 49ers miss Arik Armstead on the field in the locker room. In the locker room, he was a great guy. He was the Walter Payton Man of the Year in the locker room. You're always going to miss a presence like that. He started missing a lot of time over the past couple of years, which is why they couldn't pay him at the rate that the contract dictated, but it wasn't guaranteed. So they proposed a pay cut. Armstead said no. He went to Jacksonville. I don't think he was the same player against the run anymore last year that he had been before. He was a better pass rusher last year, but they really need that run defense on the interior. So let's just wait and see how this 49ers defense settles into the flow of October before we start making judgments about who they miss and who they don't. Bottom line is, when we look at my article up on the Standard, Bottom line is that this is the 49ers efficiency division. The defenses remain number 10 from 2023 to 2024. I do think that it'd behoove them to make the defense a little bit better. And I think that they might have the foundation to do that with a run defense at number 14 this year. It's improved. Sample is still small. So let's just go ahead and wait before we make our judgments. All right, everybody go check out the San Francisco Standard. So if you're on Twitter, go to YouTube. Link is there, or you could just go to the link. I'll tweet it out again right here, but it's all over my Twitter page. If you're listening to the podcast, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to or follow along on Twitter, and obviously go check out the San Francisco Standard. When you go there, you'll see my byline. It should pop up and offer an email sign up. Put in your email. All this is free to check out. So then you'll be notified. But the email signups help. So that's what I would like you guys to do. That's your look at Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense. Deep statistical dive. We're going to get into the defense and the special teams tomorrow. So be sure to stay following along, and we'll attack this with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We'll go Jim Harbaugh for you to finish the show. All right, time for me to go eat some dinner. It was great talking to you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.